Hey yogis, before we do our live stream tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, I wanted to talk to you guys about Chaturunga Vinyasa. I know a bunch of you who will be joining or have said you will join are newer to yoga, which is awesome. I'm super stoked that you're going to come join us. But in the meantime, I thought I would talk to you about one of the most foundational and consistent transitions that we have in a vinyasa practice, and that is the Chaturunga Vinyasa. This is the yogi push-up that you see happening in probably all of your Instagram feeds. You've probably heard about it if you are at all familiar with why yogis have such strong triceps. These push-ups are the reason. That said, it's actually a fairly difficult transition, and I'm going to teach two different variations tomorrow, and I'm going to break them down for you here. If you don't have time to watch this video in advance, don't sweat it. We'll go through them in class again tomorrow. But I thought this might be useful for those of you who are already going to be experiencing vinyasa yoga for the first time or as a newer practitioner. So with that in mind, Chaturunga Vinyasas start from a push-up shape. And you can see here that in the push-up, this is a really active posture. Of course, I'm sure you're all really familiar with push-ups from other forms of exercise. Important things to keep in mind here, it's really easy to collapse in your chest. So you're really thinking about engaging to the upper part of your abdominal wall so you can pull the shoulder blades away from each other or protract your shoulder blades away from the center of your spine. As you do so, though, be careful that you don't round through your shoulders so that you have that protected shoulder girdle. Of course, the other thing you always have to be mindful of in any kind of push-up shape is sagging here into your low back. So you're using your lower abdominals as well as tilting through your pelvis to keep pressing that low back up and actively pulling that pelvis towards the floor below you, rather as you tilt the pelvic bowl forward so that you have a nice long spine here. The first variation we'll take will actually lower down to our knees and untuck our toes. From here, it's a big inhale. And exhale to lower halfway with the elbows on the ribs. From here, you'll notice that I still have a nice long spine. You're not back here in a tabletop shape. You're forward here on your knees. Then you'll lower all the way down to the belly, keeping the feet about hips distance apart. Press them into the floor. You'll notice as I do that my knees lift. And you'll just inhale to a little back bend. This is Cobra pose, rolling the shoulders back. I don't have much weight or any weight in my hands. You'll exhale to release. Inhale to curl your toes back from your knees to your push-up, your plank. And then you'll lift your hips to your down dog. So that's the first variation that I'll go through in class tomorrow. The second variation is your full Chaturunga Vinyasa. Now, same thing, you have a nice long spine here in your plank. You're going to look forward, not down. You're going to look in front of yourself. Roll the shoulder blades back down the spine without collapsing in the chest. You're still lifting to the upper part of your abdominal wall. Same thing here. You're going to inhale, but this time shift a little further forward past your wrists. On your exhale, you'll lower halfway with your elbows on your ribs. Inhale, you untuck the toes, roll the shoulders back. Notice my knees, my thighs are lifted, so I'm only on the tops of my feet and on my palms. As you roll the shoulders back, you can drop the head back if that's okay on your neck or look forward. And then exhale to curl your toes and lift your hips. I'll go through those one more time here in just a second, but first I want to talk about the fact that this, as you were going through, looks like it's all about your upper back and your shoulders. We tend to forget about the low body. The low body needs to be really active in both of these postures. Otherwise, it's all of these postures, all of these movements. Otherwise, you can start to sink into your low back. And as you start to sink into your low back, you arch the spine, you compress your discs here, which we don't want to do. So you want to keep really active through your legs by squeezing through your inner thighs, and that's your adductor muscle here. So you want to rotate those in. You'll notice as I do so here, I have a little bit more length through my spine. As you rotate them in, it's a little squeeze through your glutes and your pelvic floor to keep your spine nice and long. So one more time through, I'll talk to you about both of those. Just breaking them down, breath to movement. So again, from your first variation, we lower down to the knees here in a knee down plank. You inhale here, looking forward. Exhale to lower halfway with your elbows to your ribs. Then all the way down. Inhale to that baby cobra, just rolling the shoulders back. Exhale to release. Inhale back to your plank on your knees. Exhale, downward facing dog. Second variation. Full variation in your plank pose. You're going to look forward, take an inhale, shift forward. Exhale, lower halfway, elbows to your ribs. Inhale, upward facing dog as you drop the tops of the feet and the hands on the mat. And exhale, you'll curl your toes, lift your hips. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. You'll notice that that first variation has an extra breath the way I just taught it. You can go a little bit faster if you want to. When you curl the toes and come back to your push-up, you can go straight to your down dog, not take that extra breath. That's okay. Just be very careful that you're mindful of what you're doing so you're not hurting your low back throughout that process. So there is your sort of Chaturanga Vinyasa 101, not sort of, that is your Chaturanga Vinyasa 101. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 Eastern. Namaste.